Bezat Hashem, we're going to start now. We're in the middle of Masechet Sanhedrin. We are on Daf Sadik Chet Amud Aleph 9886 in the Art Scroll. I don't think I updated the last year onto the site, but today I'll try to do that. Okay, let's take a look. We're on the last line. When I said we saw Rabbi Yosef in Kisma last week. His students asked him, give us a sign. And he told them a date when the gate of Rome falls and won't be able to be rebuilt. And then they still asked for a sign, and he told them about this river that would turn into blood. Okay, so that was last week. Now we're on the bottom line. V'sha'at petirato amar lahen. So now, when Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma he is passing away, he tells his students, "Ha'amiku li aroni." Put my coffin deep, deep, deep into the earth. Why? It's going to happen that the Persians are going to come during the war of Gog and Magog, and they come with so much horses, they're going to tie each horse to every tree in Babel. But more than that, ואין לך כל ארון וארון שבארץ ישראל, שאין סוס מדעי אוכל בו תבן. That the Parsaim and the Medaim, right, the Persians and the Medes are going to come with all their horses, and they're going to need places to feed their horses from. So they're going to pull out the Aron, pull out the coffin of the Jewish people, and use that as a trough for their animals, their horses, to eat. So that's why he says, "Bury me deep," so I wouldn't be taken out. There's an interesting Reb Chaim Vital, the student of Arizal, in Shari Kedusha. He writes that what's going on over here. He says that the whole point of doing mitzvot is to become a better person, to have better midot. And someone who has bad midot, he's not able to do mitzvot. Even though he's doing mitzvah, it's not considered doing mitzvah because he has bad midot. And it says about David Melech that he slept like a horse. Why? Because David Melech was somebody who was working on his midot. And therefore, as a horse sleeps very little, David Melech didn't have any time to sleep because he was always working on himself to become a better person. So that's why it says in the future, Yamod Yamdu Asusim Liat Aronot Hakpura Shel Yisrael. They're going to go and they're going to be eating out of the coffins of the Jewish people. L'Ramiz Lahem, to show the Jewish people Shekol Hatzorot Habaot Lahem, all these problems that come to them. They did not work on their midot. That's why all these troubles are coming on them. That's a Reb Chaim Vital on this piece right over here. Okay. Omar Rav. Rav says, Ein ben David Bab, ad shetitpashet hamalchut al Yisrael tisha hadashim. Until the kingdom has extended its dominion over Israel for 9 months. Meaning the Gaishic kingdom, this one kingdom, will be over the entire world. And all the Jews all over the world are not going to have any respite. Meaning in the past, currently as well, you have a problem in one country, there's another country you can escape to, right? The president of Argentina is very nice to the Jews at the moment, right? So you have a country that's favoring Jews, and you have countries that don't. You always have where to move around. It's going to come a time that for 9 months, we're all going to be under the same dominion. Therefore, there's nowhere to run to. That's going to be known as the Chevle Mashiach, the birth pains of Mashiach. Shenamar, L'chein Yitznem, Ad et Yolida Yalada Vayeter Echad Yeshavun al Bnei Yisrael. He will surrender them until the time that one who gives birth has given birth. Then the rest of his brothers will return with the children of Israel. So it's going to be a time of pregnancy. And after the time of pregnancy is going to come the Mashiach, and everyone's going to return to Eretz Yisrael. Amar Ula. Ula says, Yeteh velo echmene. Let him come, but I don't want to see him. Meaning, let Mashiach come, but I don't want to be there leading up to the arrival of Mashiach, where all the Chevle Mashiach, all the pain, birth of Mashiach, I don't want to be there. Let him come, but I don't want to see him. I don't want to be there. Rabbi Yosef Omar. Rabbi Yosef said, Yeteh, let him come. Ve'eskeh, and if I zocher de'etir betula de'chupita de'chamare, and may I merit to sit in the shadow of his donkey's dung, of his donkey's excretion. May I be able just to sit there? That will be worth it for me. So, what exactly is he saying? To be able to sit in the donkey's dung. So there's a couple of pshatim over here that I saw. שהחידש בכך הוא לפי שמה שאומר שתם חכם אסור לעמוד במקום התנופית, משום שהוא לא יכול לעמוד בלי hear Torah. You're not allowed to stand in a place that you can't learn Torah, right? Someone's a Talmid Chacham, you shouldn't go to places that are dirty and stuff like that, that he can't learn Torah there. Right? שצועד חמור שבא מהדרך אסור בפניה. If the donkey made number 2 and you're standing there, you're not allowed to learn there. So that's what Yosef is saying. So he's saying the opposite than Ula and Rava. He's saying, I'll be there even if I can't learn Torah there. I'd rather just to see Mashiach. That will be worth it for me. There is an interesting shot that I saw. It's brought from the. There is a pshat brought from the Ein Eliyahu that says that the waste that comes from a person, it comes from his sins. Valkain b'dor midbar she'achlu et haman lo yeh lahem pesolet. Where the people who ate in the midbar, they ate the man, they didn't have sin, so to speak, and therefore they didn't have any excretions. Mishum kach Rabbi Yosef shechamar shel Mashiach, that the chamar of Mashiach b'chazod darga givoa, that this Mashiach's donkey is going to be such a high madrega shafilu hapisolet shelo tagen al mishi asher b'tzada, will protect even someone who sits in its shadow. Meaning that it's such a special donkey that its excretions are so special, so to speak, that it can protect a person. That's why he said that. And perhaps it's related to the famous Avot Rabbi Natan that says, "Kishem tzadikim arishonim hayu chasidim, kach behemotehen hayu chasidot." Just like the people were chasidim, were righteous and extra special, their animals were also, right? As it said about Abraham Avinu, his camels wouldn't go into a house that had a Avodah Zarah. That's why when Eliezer comes to get the shidduch for Yitzchak, right? What does Lavan say? He had to, what's it called? He had to clean out. He said, I cleaned it out. I cleaned it out from the Avodah Zarah because the Gimalim, the camels, do not want to go in. Same thing with the Chamor of Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. He wouldn't want to eat from food that was questionable, right? So the animals have a certain madrega over there. So maybe that's what Rabbi Yosef was saying. Let's see a little further in the Gemara. We'll go to some more explanations. I'm going to Abaya the Rabba. Abaya said to Rabba, my Tama, why don't you want to see Mashiach's arrival? If you say because it's the birth pains of Mashiach, it's going to be a lot of trouble. Vantanya, Shalot Tamid of Rabbi Elazar, they asked Rabbi Elazar, what can a person do and stay away from the birth pains of Mashiach, stay away from the problems of before Mashiach comes? So what did Rabbi Elazar answer? Rabbi Elazar answered, Ya'asok b'Torah u'gimilut hasadim. A person has to occupy himself with Torah and be involved with acts of kindness. And he says to him, Umar hayat Torah v'gimilut hasadim. And you, Rabba, you have both Torah and you have Gimilut Hasadim. So why are you being afraid? Now, interestingly enough, Rabbi Elazar is the same rabbi that in Masechah Shabbat, Adav Kuf Yuchet, he says the way to stay away from the travails and the issues before Mashiach comes, the Chemesh Mashiach, is by eating Shalosh Seudot b'Shabbat. Someone eats 3 Seudot b'Shabbat, And he himself said it. And then in the Mechilta, they bring down from Elazar, then he says to his students, "Shahashomer es the Shabbat into the Mashiach. You keep Shabbat, you protect it from Mashiach." So one second, you have a Mechilta says, Elazar says, you keep Shabbat, you stay safe from Mashiach. You have the Gemara Masechah Shabbat that says Rabbi Elazar said that eating is kosher udot, say from the birth pains of Mashiach. And why here in our Gemara he says Torah ugmilut chasadim. So it's possible. There are different answers given, but it's possible. Sheshmirat Hashabbat v'acholat hashlosh suda shebehein hein prata kalul b'masha amr yasok b'Torah. Meaning, when he said to learn Torah, he didn't mean just to learn Torah, but learn and to be mikayim. La'asok b'limudah uvkayuma, to do it and to learn it and to do it. And the learning Torah teaches you to keep Shosh Teudot and to keep Shabbat. And therefore, if you learn the Torah and you do it, you'll be saved. So it's not that it's separate, but rather it's together. Maybe that's what Rabbi Elazar was holding. And perhaps Sheish Chelik Miyuchad L'Shmirat Shabbat. And Shabbat is a higher madrega of protection than the rest of the Torah learning, perhaps. And but all of it is required to learn. All of it's required for the protection. But maybe that sticks out. But the other question is, usually we say Tshuva Tefillah Tzedakah Ma'avim Yisrael Gzeira, that Tshuva Tefillah Tzedakah takes away the bad decrees. So why can I do Tshuva Tefillah Tzedakah? Why has to be Yasok B'Torah V'Ru Chasadim? So perhaps the answer right over here. Usually when it's just a bad decree, noraim, which are very big, ain't daibikach. It's not enough. El Tarshi Asko, Shava, Moira, Ikar Machshov Dato. The term of Chassidim, Lastam Yoter, Mashim Mechuyov, Benidosh, Menu Al Pidin. Right? So he says you have to do it more. There has to be more. And that's why you need more to be saved. The Kovetz Ma'amorim writes, "Shibizmanenu she'idna the ritcha ena Torah levada yochol lehatziloi." Torah itself is not enough. The gam ein dai la'aseh b'chasad levada. And b'chasad is also not enough. El tzarich la'asek b'chesed she'az yinaheg imoy gam b'midah zo shel chesed v'az tuchal ha'Torah lahaginola. So says the Kovetz Ma'amorim, it's not enough one or the other. You need the Torah to do the protection, but you need the chesed to get you to have that protection. So it's kind of a package deal. You can't do one without the other to get that protection. So Abaye says to Rabba, you have both. Why are you scared? So Amar Lei, he said to him, Shema yigrom hachet. Perhaps I made a sin, and perhaps my sin takes away the protection that I can have. Rabbi Yaakov Bar Idi, Rabbi Yaakov Bar Idi Amar, Rabbi Yaakov Idi Rame. He made a contrast between Psukim and the Kettiv. It says, "V'nei anuchi imach ushmarticha b'chol asher telech." Hashem tells Yaakov Avinu, "I'll be with you and guard you wherever you go." Kettiv. And then it says, "Vayira Yaakov me'od vayetzer lo." When he saw Esav, he got all scared. Why is he all scared? Why is he all scared? Hashem told him. So Shahaya mityareh shema yigro machet, because he was afraid. At least a sin came about of him, and therefore he lost that protection. The Mefarshim ask, well, we have a teaching that teaches us that whatever Hashem says is for good is always going to happen. It's only if he says it for bad that he can switch it. So if Hashem told Yaakov, I'm always going to protect you, why is Yaakov Avinu getting scared? So they want to answer that perhaps this is only true if it was said through a Navi to that person. Right? If Hashem told a Navi, go and say this person, this is a good thing, then that will stay forever. But it won't change. But if it just was told to Yaakov, not through a Navi, not through a Nevuah, and not through a Navi's Nevuah to Yaakov, so then perhaps it doesn't necessarily have to stand. That's why Shema Yigram Achen, he got scared that maybe he sinned and therefore lost the protection. Another proof, Kedatanya, Gemara says, Ad Yavor Mecha Adonai Zo B'Yad Rishona. When it says in the pasuk, until the people passes, this was the first time they came into Eretz Yisrael. They came in with a lot of miracles. And then it says, Ad Yavor Zukanita Zo B'Yad Shniya. This is the second time we came in during the time of Ezra that we came back. And you learn from here. They're compared in the same pasuk. That they should have been able to come in through miracles back to Eretz Yisrael, just like Yeshua had miracles when he was fighting the kings, the walls of Jericho, the battles, the sun stopping, all these things that Yeshua did. We should have similar miracles when coming in the second time, but that's not what happened. When we came in the second time around, first we had to get permission from the government, and then the Bishop which was a bunch of curtains. There was a lack of support. Nobody came back. It was very, very, very sad. No, it's nothing like the first one. And it should have been exactly the same because Ad Yavor, Ad Yavor. So it should be. Why didn't it happen? Because they still were holding on to sin. And they had to come back because the Nebuah said 70 years. But they were still holding on to sin. And therefore, they lost the ability to have all those miracles. Okay? Going back to the previous discussion, Rabbi Yochanan says, let Mashiach come, but I rather not see him. Now, before we continue the Gemara, the question is as follows. Parsham asks, we say in our prayer, we're praying that we go back. We want to witness the return. We say we want to see it. So how come these other rabbis are saying, I rather not see it? So Rav Zev Wolf, the Maggid of Vilna, explains it with a mashal, with a parable. There was a wedding between two wealthy families. And after the chuppah, the young people started a dance. And so the elderly parents, they decided to go into a side room and take a nap. Now, poor people also came, and they were waiting for the dancing to end so the meal can come out. And one of the poor person told the other fellow, he said, listen, the parents went to sleep. Let's go and sleep also. And when the food comes out, just like they'll wake up the parents for sure, they'll wake us up as well. And his friend said, fool, the parents of the Hatan and Kala, if they take a nap now, definitely they'll be woken up. But if we oversleep, nobody cares about us. And therefore, if we oversleep, no one's going to wake us up, and we're going to miss the whole delicacies being served, and we won't eat anything. We came for nothing. Says Rav Wolf, Ula and the others were capable of wishing not to witness, as he was confident that he would be awakened to enjoy its delights right after. We are like spiritual paupers. We cannot take such a risk. If we are not present to see the events leading up to Mashiach's coming, we very well may miss the entire thing. So that's why we say, okay, we'll see it, even though it might be painful. And we did talk about this painful before also. That is not necessarily have to be the way it is. And we'll get this from this Gemara right now. Let's take a look. Amar Lei, Reish Lakish. Lakish said to Rabbi Yochanan, right? So he said to his Rebbe's brother-in-law, he said to him, My Tama, why don't you want to see Mashiach's arrival? It's because you're scared. Because it says in the pasuk, a person ran away from a lion. And he meets the bear. Gets away from the bear, and he comes home. So and he puts his hand on the wall. And he's bitten by the snake. Right? That's what it says it's going to be in the time of Gog and Magog. So maybe that's what you're scared. You don't have to wait for that. It's already happening down. All these issues are happening now, right? Like we saw from the other Chachamim that the pains that we're suffering now could be interpreted as the Chevlo Shel Mashiach, and that we don't have to have the literal Chevlo Shel Mashiach that's written in the Nevi'im. And these pains can be understood in and making the prophecy come true. What's an example? His man Charles the person goes out to his field, boy, and he meets a government official who's looking at the borders of people's land, and he can be reassigning your land, right? So he's the it's like you're meeting a lion who's about to take away all your property. He goes to the city, he meets the tax collector, now he wants his money. So if you met a beer, you come home, you think you're gonna have peace. He sees his sons and daughters, they're all lying in hunger. They're all hungry. As if he got bitten by a snake. The guy has no rest. What do you see? What do you see? You have all these problems now, so you're already going through it. So why don't you want to see the Kabbalah of Mashiach? He said, because it says, Shalu Naru im Yoel Zachar. Madura iti kol gever yadav. Al chalotzav ki yoldav and evchel kuponim liyerkon. And now, and see whether a man gives birth. Why do I see every man with his hands on his loins like a woman in labor? And all the faces have turned pale. What does this mean, this pasuk? Iti kol gever. What does it mean? He saw every man. It's talking about one who all the power belongs to him. Who is this? This is Hashem. Hashem has all the power to him. What does it mean all the faces turn pale? This is what's going to happen. The hosts below and the hosts on top, right? So the angels and the Jewish people, Holy One Blessed will say, these Jews are my handiwork, and these Goyim are also my handiwork. How can I destroy these for the sake of these? Why should I destroy the Goyim for the sake of the Jews? Can you imagine such a statement? Everyone's face is going to become pale. That's why Rav says, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to see this. And it continues the Gemara. Oh, my Rav Papa. And Rav Papa says, this is what people say. An ox runs and falls, and its master goes out and puts a horse at its trough. What does it mean? A farmer owned an ox and a horse. The farmer cherished the ox and gave it a feeding trough of its own. One day the ox ran and fell. While the ox recovered from its injuries, the farmer let the horse use the ox's feeding trough. When the ox returned, the farmer was faced with a dilemma. How could he remove the horse, which he himself had put at the trough to make way for the ox? So the Jews fell, put him to the side, put Goyim there. So Hashem says, how should I remove the Goyim now? Likewise, when Hashem sees the cherished nation fall, he transfers the enemies to their eminence to the idolatrous nations. Then when the Jewish people repent and redeem, it'll be difficult for Hashem, so to speak, to overthrow the idolatrous nations and restore the Jewish people to their former position. Okay? That's what Rabbi Yochanan says. I don't want to be there. I don't want to see all this. Okay, this is a very hard understanding of the Gemara. Now, this is what Rashi says, I believe. But the Yad Ramah, he has a different opinion. In his view, when it says Misha Kol Gvura Shelo, it means even the great warriors were reduced to agony during the pre-Messianic travail. It doesn't mean Hashem is Misha Kol Gvura Shelo. It means the mightiest warriors will also have the what's it called, the Chavlo Shel Mashiach. Even the mighty warriors won't be able to miss the pains of Mashiach. And he explains, the Yadram explains the metaphor differently. An ox runs and falls, but will go and hurl the horses into its trough. An ox is awkward and he stumbles when it runs. Therefore, when an ox fights a horse, the horse will repeatedly escape the ox's charges. Eventually, however, the ox will corner the horse, and hurl it to its death. This is a metaphor for Hashem's treatment of the nations that oppress the Jewish people. It may seem as though he's letting them escape justice. In the end, though, the punishment they deserve will catch up with them. So that's what the Yad Ramah understands from this Gemara. It's not talking about the problem. It's not saying that the Jews are going to be like, oh, what can I do with the Jews? I mean, because I put the guy in there. But rather, we're saying that Hashem will. In fact, the Ben Yoda, he has an interesting idea over here. He says, why does it happen in the end then Hashem takes the side of the Jews. So he writes over here. Okay. Why in the end, if you're saying Hashem said, "Oh, these are mine," why should I do it? So why in the end does he do it? Uvi'er, he explains. When the other explains, Shekol Adam Nivra Kashetzelam Elokim Olav Ach Muchoyte Umaslik Ma'alav Emetzelam Hakadosh. Everybody's created with the image of Hashem on them, and when he sins, the image goes away. But the Jews, if they do tshuva, they get back to Tzelem Elokim. He says because what happens is when the guy does sins, which they're doing, they lose their Tzelem Elokim. Jews also lose their Tzelem Elokim if they sin. But when the Jews does tshuva, he gets Tzelem Elokim back. And when we do tshuva, then Hashem says they're Tzelem Elokim and they're not. We will get rid of the goyim and let the Jews back in. That's what comes from the Ben Yehuda on that idea. Okay, let's continue our Gemara. Amar Rav Gido, Amar Rav. Atidan Yisrael, V'achloi Shenei Mashiach. The Jewish people is destined to enjoy the years of Mashiach. Amar Rav Yosef, Shita, what are you saying? Who else is going to enjoy the years of Mashiach? Right? Who else is going to enjoy it? Chilak ubilak? Chilak and bilak are going to enjoy them? Who's Chilak and bilak? Sometimes using the Gemara to refer to random people, usually with a negative connotation. Okay, they have no meaning, or maybe they derive from roots signifying destruction. The Rashi also wants to say perhaps they're names of two evil judges of Sodom, were Chilak and Bilak. And so Rabbi Yosef is saying, who else is going to be enjoying it, if not the Jews? The La Puke b'Nibrei Hillel, to exclude the words of Rabbi Hillel. The Amar, because Rabbi Hillel said, in Mashiach Yisrael. He said there's no Mashiach for the Jewish people. There was a Rabbi Hillel. This is not the big Hillel that we know with all the stories of Hillel. This is like a grandson of I believe it's a grandson of Yehuda Anasi. But excuse me if I'm wrong on this. Let me just check over here. I remember seeing it somewhere. Rabbi Hillel. It doesn't say it over here right now, but I thought I saw it earlier. Anyway, it's not the same hill. That's for certain that we're usually familiar with. It's not that hill. With the story with the person coming back with all the questions on Erev Shabbat. It's not that hill. And what does he say? He says that the Jews already had Mashiach. They already ate the time of Mashiach during the time of Chizkiah. Chizkiah Melech, when he was there, he was the one who was considered Mashiach, and all the prophecies happened at that time. And take a look at note 28. When Rav said we will enjoy the years of Mashiach, his intent was not to exclude the people, rather was to stress the contrary to Rav Hillel's view. Okay, Rav Hillel's view is going to be elaborated soon. Okay, we're going to have it on the next page. We're going to have it. So just hang on. I know it's a very strange view to say that there's not going to be any more Mashiach. Obviously, we don't hold like that. Nobody holds like that. But it was an opinion of Rav Hillel. So we have to look at it in a few minutes. Amar Rav. The world was created only for David HaMelech. Mulamar. It was created only for Moshe. And Rabbi Yochanan says, Mashiach, the world was created only for Mashiach. Okay? The three views are recorded in order to contrast Rav Hillel. Rav Hillel says the greatest physical blessings were enjoyed during the reign of Chizkiah. And we're saying no. David, Moshe, Mashiach, not during the time of Hizkiah. Okay, says the Gemara further. Oh, so now we're going to come into interesting. What is the name of Mashiach? Mashimo. What is the name of Mashiach? What is the name of Mashiach? Gemara says, Dever Bishila Amre Shiloh Shemo. The Academy of Shiloh says his name is Shiloh. Very interesting that the rabbi of the Rabbi Shilah, his yeshiva, is saying that the name is Shiloh, which is very similar to the rabbi's name. Shnema, as it says, Ad ki avo Shiloh, until Shiloh comes. Okay? Shiloh, if you take a look at note 32, Yuval Shai la Hashem. A gift shall be offered to Hashem. The word Shiloh is Shai Lo, a gift to Hashem. The name Shai and Lo. Okay, that's one name possible. Divrei Rabbi Yanai Amrei. The school Rabbi Yanai says, Yinon Shemo. His name was Yinon. There you go. Rabbi Yanai. He says the name is Yinon. Okay, again, a name related to the rabbi. Shneimar Yishemol Olam Lifnei Shemesh Yinon Shemo. His name is Yinon, similar to the name Yanai. Okay. Dever Rabbi Hanina Amar. Rabbi Hanina says, Hanina Shemo. Rabbi Hanina says the name was Hanina, his own name. Shneimar Asher Lo Yiten Lachem Hanina. V'yesh omrim Menachem BeChizkiah Shemo. Shneimar Ki Rachak Mimenu Menachem B'Shiv. Some say his name was Menachem. So you have here three rabbis with name Shiloh. He says Shiloh. Yanai says Yinon. Hanina says Hanina. What's going on? Why is every rabbi saying that the name of Mashiach is his own name? So there is a Maharal. And he explains each of these stages, as signified by his unique name, had a unique strength and unique path in Avodat Hashem. Every Jew has a certain derech halimud, certain derech avoda. There are certain ways of doing things. And when he went to look about Mashiach, he saw his way in Mashiach. And says Rav Yaakov Netsky, because that is the characteristic of Mashiach, is that Mashiach is not just here for one group of Jews, but every group of Jews will see themselves in Mashiach. Mashiach is able to relate to all the Jews. And therefore, every rabbi looked at it and said, hey, I see myself in him. And because his way encompassed all. And each saw his own Torah, his own path, and divine reflected in Mashiach. This speaks to the encompassing greatness of Mashiach, who will encompass all authentic expressions of Torah living. For each group will declare, he is one of us. And so that's why each one saw their own self in the Mashiach. We'll just say one interesting idea about the name Moshiach. The word Mashiach actually stands for Menachem, Shiloh, Yinon, Hanina. That's how you know the name of Mashiach. If you want to remember all the names, it's Menachem, Shiloh, Yinon, and Hanina. That's what the acronym for the word Mashiach. Okay? That's also going to be found on page on note 39 on the next page. See, the word Mashiach is an acronym for Menachem, Shiloh, Yinon, and Hanina. Okay, fine. But the rabbis say he's known as Chivara Devere Bishemo, the Mitzorah of the house of Rabbi. The house of Rabbi. He is remember Rabbi's from Yehuda. He's from David Melech. So he'll be a Mitzorah. Why is he a Mitzorah? Because he takes on the pain, right? He, according to the Maharal, he's allegorically described in this way because Tzarat, which involves the decay of the physical body, is an metaphor for a person whose spiritual aspect is so sublime that he seems to be antithesis of the physical. He's so spiritual that it goes against physical, and therefore it's like a mitzvah. He doesn't have any skin left, so to speak. Some want to say that the Mashiach will also undergo terrible suffering before he comes. Right? This is all found in note 38 over there. Okay, fine. השנאמר, אכן, חוליינו הוא נשא, ומחובנו סבלה, ואנחנו, השנו נגוע, מוכה אלוהים ומעונה. Indeed, it was our diseases that he bore and our pains that he endured, whereas we considered him plagued, smitten by God, and afflicted. If Mashiach comes from the living, kigon ana, then he is like me. So Nachman, who was a son-in-law of the Resh Geluta, which was the exilarch, he was the head of the Jewish community in Babel, who was a descendant of David HaMelech, and Nachman was also descendant from David HaMelech. And this Resh Geluta, the exilarch of he was had influence and power in the government. So Nachman is saying you have to be someone from David HaMelech and has influence in the government. That's where Mashiach will be. Take a look at that note 40, the second paragraph. According to the Maharal, Nachman is teaching that although Mashiach will be a greatly exalted figure, he will not be divorced from contact with his subjects. Rather, he'll be like Rav Nachman himself, who is directly involved in communal matters. I mean, he's not going to be just stuck his nose in the book, but rather he's going to be involved with the people. Amarav, min hayahu, if he's from the living, Kegon Rabbeinu HaKadosh. It's going to be like Rabbeinu HaKadosh, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Min metayahu, if he's from the dead, Kegon Daniel Ish Hamudot. Then he's going to be like Daniel. Okay, Maharsha points out that Rabbi Daniel enjoyed positions of authority, right? Now, what does it mean, Omin metayahu, or he's from the dead? Is he saying that he could be from the dead? Take a look at note 42. If the Messiah is currently alive, he is certainly Rebbe. If Messiah is someone who's already died, he is Daniel. Barbanel explains that it's possible for Mashiach to be among the resurrected, meaning that Mashiach could come from the dead. Doesn't have to come from those who are living right now. The second way of understanding this, the person who most closely resembles Mashiach is alive. The person from the dead, then it's Daniel, meaning that not that it could come from the dead, but rather, if you want to know who Mashiach would resemble like from the dead, he resembles to Daniel, but not that he can come from the dead. Take a look at the end of note 42. It's an important Rambam. The Rambam writes, in his Ageret Teman, which was his letter to the Yemenite Jews, before Mashiach arises, you will not be able to say that he is the son of so-and-so or from such and such a family. Rather, a man will arise who was not known before he revealed himself. Atam Sofer adds, this man himself will not know that he's to be Mashiach until God calls upon him. Okay, so interesting take on who is Mashiach. Is going to come a second David. And they will serve Hashem their God and David their king, whom I will arise for them. Hakim lo ne'emar, doesn't say he raised. El Akim, he will raise. There'll be another David. That David himself is going to be the prince forever. So the Gemara says, Kigon Kesar or Palgei Kesar is going to be a second David who's going to be Mashiach, and one of them is going to be an emperor, and one of them is going to be half an emperor, like a vice president or something like that. Now, who is who? Look at note 47. The new David, whom the verse calls Melech, will be supreme, and the original, who is referred to as an Nasi, will be subordinate to him. Okay? The Yad Ramah concludes his commentary to this passage with a prayer. We do not have even a partial understanding of these matters. May the one who knows their true meaning teach it to us clearly and not enigmatically for the sake of his name. So to speaking, let it happen so we can see it and know it and not come up with all these different explanations. Okay, fine. Darash Rabbi Simlai. My dichtiv, Hoy hamitavim et Yom Hashem. Lama ze lachem Yom Hashem. Hu choshech v'lo'or. Woe unto those who yearn for the day of Hashem. Why should you want the day of Hashem? It is darkness and not light. Why would we say the Yom Hashem is like darkness and not light? So, mashal tanagom v'atalev. It's like a mashal of a bat and a rooster. Shayu mitzafim la'or, and they were both waiting for the light, for the sun to come out. The rooster says to the bat, I'm waiting for the light because that's mine. I cook what to do. I start my things. I'm all active. I get benefit from the light. Why do you? You don't have any eyes. You don't use light. You are the creature of the night. So why are you waiting for the light? So behind Amar, it was for this reason that a certain min, a heretic, has to be abahu. And when Mashiach come, when darkness covers those people, you bad guys, when you get darkness, that's when Mashiach is here. So he says, are you cursing me? He said, I'm not cursing you, corrective. Darkness will cover the earth, and thick clouds the peoples. But upon you, Hashem will shine, and upon you, His glory will be seen. Meaning, for the Jewish people, Mashiach is going to be a great time. But at Goyim, it's going to be a very dark time. Tanya was told to write that Eliezer, Omer, Yemot Mashiach, Arba'im Shana. It's going to be only 40 years. Shneimar, Arba'im Shana Akut Bado. Eliezer ben Azari Omer, Shivim Shana. Shneimar Vayam Yom Hunish, Kahat Tzor Shivim Shana, B'Yekimei Melech Echad. Ezu Melech Miyuchad. 70 years for Mashiach. Rabbi Yomer, it's going to be 3 generations. Shnema, Yeruchem Shamish, V'lefnei Yareach, Dordonim. May they fear you as long as the sun and the moon endure for a generation and a generation. So now you have to talk a little bit about Rabbi Hillel. Rabbi Hillel, Omer, En Lahem Mashiach Yisrael. There's no Mashiach. They already had Mashiach in the time of Hizkiah. There's no more Mashiach. Take a look at note 13. Pretty important note over here. Third line. Rabbi Hillel does not dispute that the Jews will be redeemed from exile. Rather, he maintains the redemption will be wrought by not by a human Messiah, but by God Himself. Okay? So it's not that Rabbi Hillel is sort of arguing and saying there's not going to be a Geulah. It's going to be a redemption. He's just saying it's not going to be via Mashiach. Okay? The Ran argues the righteous Hill could not possibly have meant the Jews will remain in exile forever. Right? And rather, Hill certainly agrees they'll be redeemed. He maintains that as soon as God has redeemed us, right away to come to Kriyat HaMetim. There will not be any physical utopia like the Mashiach time that we keep talking about. Okay. Now, let me see if he goes into this also over here. Yeah. So let's read a little further. Amar Rav Yosef, Shareh le Mare Rabbi Hillel. May Hashem forgive Rabbi Hillel, right? Him for making this statement. How could you say such a thing? Chizkiah emat haba. When was Chizkiah? The Bayit is shown. He lived in the first Bayit, the first Beit HaMikdash time. Bill Zechariah kamit nabe bebayit sheni, and Zechariah he prophesied in the second temple period. Gelim me'od bat Zion hari bat Yerushalayim hine makach yavo lach tzadik v'noshahu ani v'rochev achamor v'al ayer ben atanot. Okay, this is Zechariah, the son of Berachayah, who lived during the reign of King Darius. Okay, after the Beit HaMikdash, and he prophesied that there was going to be a Mashiach after the time of Hizkiah. So how could you say that Hizkiah was Mashiach if there was a prophecy of Mashiach will come after? Look at note 16. According to many Shonim, Rav Hillel agrees that there will be a redemption. It's different understood why Rav Yosef did not refute Rav Hillel's view with the one of the many verses about redemption, right? Because Rav Hillel is not arguing about the redemption. He's only arguing about if there will be a Mashiach now or if a Mashiach already was. So the Sefer Ikarim infers from this Gemara that the belief of Mashiach coming is not fundamental. It's not one of the fundamental beliefs. Because if it were, Rav Hillel should be considered an Apikaris and have no Olam Haba. But interestingly to note, the Rambam does consider it an article of faith. It's one of the Shosh Ikarim of the Rambam. So Barbanel defends the Rambam's view, but arguing that since Rav Hillel does not diminish the promised reward from the Mashiach era, rather he's increasing it by saying Hashem himself will do it, he cannot be considered a non-believer. Okay? So that's the Barbanel trying to defend Rav Hillel. Nevertheless, it is improper to follow Rav Hillel's view. One who does so denies the law of the Torah, which states the majority view is accepted as authoritative. So therefore, since everybody else says Mashiach will still come, we cannot hold it as Rav Hillel's view that there is no more Mashiach because it already was during the time of Hiskiah. Now, even Rav Hillel holds there still will be a redemption. It just seems to say that it's not going to be through Mashiach. Rather, God himself will intervene and get it all done. Okay, this is where we'll end the shiur for this week. And the Hashem we'll take back. We'll be back next week. Yashar Koch, L'kulam. Toda Rabah.